Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Andy and this is Mills Outdoors. Today I wanted to take a few minutes and talk to you about pan fishing, specifically bluegill and crappie. And how do I go ahead and find these bluegill and crappie, or rather how I catch them. So I'm going to give you today just a few of my favorite items, albeit very simple items, but a few of my favorite items to catch bluegill and crappie with. First item on the list, of course, is bluegill. That's one of my favorite fish to catch. It's pretty much a guaranteed catch almost every time you go out. Using simple things such as a J-hook, a simple split shot weight, and a stick bobber or a standard round bobber. Round bobbers and stick bobbers are basically that's all they are, is a float. We call them bobbers, you call them floats, whatever you want. A stick bobber is very slim in the water line, so when you do get a bite, it's less resistance to bring the bobber down to show you that you have a bite. A round bobber or round float is your very basic of floats. Still very effective, a little more resistance to actually pull down. So if the fish is being a little finicky, if it's not wanting to pull real hard, sometimes you can miss those bites. With a stick bobber or even a cork bobber, you get less resistance. The J-hook configurations are very simple with a split shot, and the float or bobber above them is a very effective way of catching bluegill. I like to use a J-hook. A lot of people will do jig heads or other means, but a simple J-hook, very cheap, very inexpensive, and quite easy to use. I will use a half a worm on here or a wax worm. You can also pick up red wigglers, such as, at your places like Walmart or Orscheln's or a Tractor Supply store near you. If you're up north, you're very familiar with this. If you're down south, maybe you're familiar with this as well. Right now, this time of the year, as it's cold and 28 degrees outside, I don't get the opportunity to actually go outside and enjoy this right now. So, I figured I'd bring this to you guys, give you a little bit of a pointer. So, J-hook, bobbers, and a split shot weight. Shift gears, we go from bluegill. Now this is also effective for a lot of other fish. You can catch crappie on these. You can throw a minnow on there if you want to go crappie fishing with J-hooks and a minnow. A lot of people not big fans of putting minnows on hooks, but it's extremely effective. So if you wanted to go crappie fishing with this setup as well, it does work. I'm going to show you another setup as well for crappie. For crappie fishing, I'm very specific on what I use. This is a weighted jig head, very small one at that, because I don't need a lot of weight for these, and a fluke body. This is a very small, thin fluke body, and you can pick those guys up. I picked these up at Walmart because they're, quite frankly, the most inexpensive. And if the fish does get a hold of the tail, it can actually pull them off pretty frequently. This is a same jig head, but with a tube body. These little tubes, I don't know what they simulate, but the crappie seem to absolutely go bonkers over these little guys. So again, a small jig head, weighted, tube, or a fluke body, either way. Now how do I rig up these flukes or jigs? It's a little bit more complicated when it comes to crappie. Not a lot, I don't want to scare you away. But I want you to understand, this is what we call a slip knot nylon tie and a slip bobber. A slip bobber does not have hooks on the ends like your springs on your cork bobbers or stick bobbers, or a clasp like your standard round floats. These are open and hollow. When you set these up, you're going to run the nylon on your line ahead of your float, with the black top being the stop, and the black top will come on next. Now, before you get that bobber on there, you need to take this tube. This is a tube here that you run your line through. And you run your line through it, and you get it to where you want it, and you pull the tube out. You pull this small tube out, leaving just the line in place, and you tighten the line on your fishing line. And that creates a stop. Then you add your bobber, and run that up the top. Once you get that to where you want it, then you go ahead and tie on your tube, your fluke, or even your J-hook with a minnow on it. That allows, if you're using just a J-hook and your slip bobbers, I would recommend another split shot, excuse me. I would recommend another split shot, halfway, or just, I would say, either halfway between your bobber set and where your hook is going to be, or about a foot above your hook. That will help the minnow and your J-hook stay down while your bobber does all the rest of the work. This is a very small presentation, but it's very effective. For this kind of fishing, I'm pretty specific on what kind of rod and reel I use. I'm very partial to a ultralight, light, or medium rod. This is my medium rod. I do have to pick up another ultralight rod, which I do favorite very much for bluegill and crappie. But this medium rod is very effective as well. This is a 6'6" medium rod. This is a Advocate RZT and a Mitchell spinning combo. So this combo came to be about $40. So very inexpensive, very nice rods. But as you can see, I do have a J-hook here. This is a slightly smaller one that I've shown you so far, and another stick bobber here. This one's a very small, very thin presentation on this one. So you can go with an ultralight, a light rod. If you can find the combos, it's usually your best option. So this is a few of my favorite pan fishing tackle. I've got plenty more. I always have a small pan fishing tackle box. And I know a lot of people actually kind of give me a hard time about this, but this is literally all I need. I've got a few other options. I've got some foxtails. For slightly larger fish, if I get into, say, a white bass, I've got a little bit larger presentation available. I've got a whole slew of spoons and some jerk baits. I do have my soft jig baits in here. This one is a grub presentation. I'll be working with that this year. And of course, plenty of jig heads and small hooks to go around. Wouldn't leave home without it when it comes right down to it. If you guys would like to see more of these videos in the future, please hit the subscribe button. And as always, I appreciate you guys coming along. I'll see you next time.